Stop scrolling. Because this story was never supposed to be heard out loud. One sentence. One alleged admission. And suddenly, the entire internet is shaking. Yes, I was pregnant with Papoose's child. That's the line insiders claim Claressa Shields allegedly confessed behind closed doors. Not on camera, not on stage, but in a moment where silence finally cracked. For months, fans ignored the signs. The missed appearances. The sudden disappearances. The interviews that felt off. But now, according to alleged insider leaks, there was a reason everyone stayed quiet. Because this wasn't just a rumor. This was a career-ending truth. Sources claim pressure was applied. NDAs were signed. And a story that could destroy reputations was buried deep. But here's where it gets scary. The admission wasn't meant to leak. Someone talked. Someone slipped. And the moment that sentence hit the wrong ears, everything started collapsing. Papoose hasn't spoken. Claressa hasn't denied it. And the industry? Completely silent. So ask yourself this. Backhand index pointing right if this is all fake. Why is nobody shutting it down? Stay right here, because what allegedly happened next is far worse than the admission itself. To understand why this alleged admission shook the internet, you have to understand who Claressa Shields is and what she represents. Claressa isn't just a champion. She's discipline. She's control. She's an image built on strength so solid that nothing was ever supposed to crack it. For years, she's been marketed as untouchable, mentally sharp, emotionally guarded, and laser-focused on legacy. Every interview polished. Every appearance calculated. Every move watched. Which is why insiders say what allegedly happened next caught everyone off guard. Now, let's talk about Papoose. Papoose has always played the long game. Never loud. Never sloppy. Always strategic. In an industry where oversharing is currency, he built his reputation on privacy and restraint. His personal life stayed off limits. His silence often spoke louder than statements. Two powerful names. Two carefully protected brands. Two worlds that, on the surface, were never meant to overlap. But behind the scenes, sources claim their paths crossed more often than fans realized. Same charity events. Same industry gatherings. Same closed-door after-parties where phones weren't welcome. At first, nobody questioned it. Why would they? Successful people cross paths all the time. But then patterns started forming. Claressa began canceling appearances last minute. Her social media rhythm changed. Long gaps. Short captions. No explanations. Fans brushed it off as training focus. The media accepted the narrative. But insiders allegedly knew something wasn't adding up. Around the same time, Papoose reportedly went unusually quiet. No interviews. No public commentary. No reactions. Even when fans tagged him relentlessly. Silence isn't suspicious. Until it is. According to alleged sources close to the situation, this wasn't chaos. It was control. Because when powerful people face a potential scandal, they don't panic publicly. They manage privately. Meetings were held. Advisors were looped in. Conversations happened that were never meant to reach daylight. And here's where things get darker. An insider claims there was a moment, a very specific window of time, when Claressa completely disappeared from the public eye. No sightings. No interviews. No training footage. Just gone. At the time, fans were told it was personal time. But now, after the alleged admission, people are revisiting that timeline, and the questions are getting louder. Why that exact period? Why the sudden silence? Why did everyone around her stop talking at once? Because according to whispers, that was when everything changed. The industry thrives on secrets, but some secrets are too explosive to survive forever. And allegedly, this one came dangerously close to blowing up back then, until it was contained. Or so they thought. What makes this situation even more unsettling is how perfectly aligned the silence was. No leaks. No rumors. No paparazzi shots. Almost as if someone made sure there wouldn't be any. And now, fast forward to the present. One alleged sentence leaks. One confession escapes a private space. And suddenly, everything that was buried starts clawing its way back to the surface. Old interviews are being rewatched, old posts analyzed frame by frame. Fans are connecting dots that were never meant to connect. And the scariest part? Neither side rushed to shut it down. No aggressive denials. No legal threats. No, this is completely false statements. Just silence. And in the world of celebrity scandals, silence is never neutral. It's either fear or preparation. Because according to insiders, this story didn't start with an admission. That admission was just the moment the wall cracked. What comes next is the part they were desperate to prevent. And in the next section, you'll find out exactly how this alleged secret finally began to unravel and why it spiraled out of control. According to alleged insider accounts, the real explosion didn't happen online. It happened behind closed doors. A private setting. No cameras. No press. No room for damage control. Sources claim this was supposed to be a routine conversation, a quiet attempt to clear the air before rumors turned into headlines. But what began as a controlled discussion allegedly spiraled into a moment nobody was prepared for. One insider described it like this. The room felt heavy. Everyone knew something was coming, they just didn't expect that. That's when Claressa allegedly broke. Not publicly, not dramatically, but with a sentence so calm it sounded dangerous. Yes, I was pregnant. Silence. According to those present, nobody interrupted. Nobody reacted. Because once those words landed, there was no way to rewind time. The confession, allegedly meant to stay private, immediately triggered panic. Advisors reportedly began talking over each other. Phones were checked. Timelines pulled up. Someone even asked, "Has anyone else heard this?" That question alone tells you everything. Because if the truth was harmless, there'd be nothing to fear. But insiders claim this admission wasn't just emotional, it was explosive. Why? Because the timing didn't match the public story. According to alleged leaked notes from that meeting, the pregnancy aligned perfectly with the period Claressa disappeared from public view, the same week's fans were told she was resting and refocusing. Suddenly, that explanation sounded rehearsed. Within hours of that private confession, something strange happened online. Old posts started disappearing. Photos were archived. The comments were quietly limited. Fans noticed immediately. One viral post read, "Why are posts from that month gone? What are they hiding?" And then came the first wave of alleged leaks. Screenshots, blurry, unverified, but convincing enough to ignite chaos. Messages allegedly showing panic. "We agreed this would never come out. You said it was handled. This changes everything." None confirmed. All believable. And the internet did what it does best, connect dots. But the first real twist didn't come from fans. It came from an anonymous source claiming to be part of the cleanup. This source alleged that the pregnancy wasn't just an emotional crisis, it was seen as a brand emergency. Contracts were at risk, sponsorships on the line, careers hanging by a thread. According to this source, the focus wasn't support, it was containment. And that's where Papoose allegedly entered the picture. Not publicly, not directly, but through intermediaries. The source claims there were conversations that never made it to text, only calls. Conversations with one goal: make sure this never becomes public. Which brings us to the twist that flipped everything. A date. An alleged medical document, unverified but widely shared, showed a timeline that overlapped with a major public appearance Claressa made weeks later. Fans started asking, if this wasn't real, how did she pull that off? Suddenly, skepticism turned into suspicion. And then, Papoose's silence became impossible to ignore. No denial, no clarification, no distancing, nothing. And in celebrity scandals, silence isn't passive, it's strategic. Insiders say that's when the fear set in. Because if this story gained momentum, it wouldn't just expose a secret, it would expose how deeply it was buried. But just as the internet thought it had reached the truth, a new leak surfaced. And this one suggested that the pregnancy wasn't the end of the story. It was only the beginning. Because according to this source, someone else knew and didn't stay quiet. And that's where everything officially went out of control. Once the first alleged leaks hit the internet, there was no stopping it. This wasn't a rumor anymore. This was a firestorm. Within hours, timelines were torn apart like crime scenes. Fans zoomed into screenshots. Bloggers refreshed feeds every second. Everyone was hunting for one thing: confirmation. And then the story leveled up. Because according to alleged insider chatter, someone close to the situation panicked. Not a fan, not a blogger, but someone who knew too much and waited too long. Late one night, a burner account appeared. No profile photo, no history, just one post. Y'all don't even know the half of it. That single sentence detonated the internet. Within minutes, the account followed it up with a thread, chaotic, emotional, and terrifyingly specific. The thread claimed the alleged pregnancy wasn't accidental. It wasn't random. And it definitely wasn't handled cleanly. According to this anonymous source, the moment Claressa allegedly realized the situation could spiral, everything changed. Emergency calls were made. Lawyers were looped in. And a decision was pushed through that would haunt everyone involved. The post ended with this line: "The truth didn't disappear. It was delayed." Fans lost their minds. Screenshots spread faster than denials could be drafted. Even people who didn't believe the story started saying the same thing. Backhand index pointing right, "This feels way too detailed to be made up." Then came the shocking reveal. Another alleged insider, claiming to work adjacent to the industry, dropped a bomb that flipped the narrative entirely. According to them, the pregnancy wasn't the only secret being protected. They alleged there was a second layer, something so damaging that even acknowledging the pregnancy was considered the lesser evil. What was it? Timing. The source claimed that the alleged pregnancy overlapped with contract negotiations and image-based deals that absolutely could not afford controversy. And here's where it gets chilling. The insider alleged that Claressa was advised to keep moving, keep appearing, keep smiling no matter what. No pauses. No explanations. No visible cracks. Because if the public noticed a break, questions would start. And questions are dangerous. Fans immediately started rewatching old footage. Slow motion clips. Freeze frames. Moments that once seemed normal now felt heavy. People began saying, "She looked tired. That smile feels forced. Why did she leave that event early?" The internet doesn't forget. It reconstructs. But the biggest shock wasn't visual. It was emotional. A leaked alleged voice note began circulating. Distorted. Low quality. Unverified. But the words cut deep. "If this comes out, it ruins everything. Not just you. All of us." The voice wasn't confirmed, but it sounded calm. Too calm. That calm scared people more than panic ever could. Because calm means planning. Suddenly, the silence from Papoose took on a new meaning. It no longer felt like distance. It felt like containment. Fans began asking, why hasn't he denied it? Why hasn't he defended himself? Why hasn't anyone shut this down legally? And then, Claressa posted, not a denial, not an explanation, just one cryptic message. Some truths don't disappear. They wait. That was it. No caption. No follow-up. The internet exploded again. Supporters called it courage. Critics called it manipulation. Neutral observers called it terrifying. Because that wasn't a statement. It was a warning. Industry blogs started backtracking. Articles were edited. Headlines softened. Behind the scenes, insiders claimed calls were being made to slow the coverage down. But it was too late. This story had crossed the point of control. And then came the cliffhanger that changed everything. A well-known media personality hinted on a live stream. I've seen documents related to this. I'm not releasing them yet. Yet. That word sent chills through the internet. Because if documents existed, real or not, this story wasn't finished. It was loading. And the scariest part? According to alleged insiders, the pregnancy admission was never meant to be public. It slipped. And once one truth escaped, others started pushing against the door. In the next section, You'll see how the public reacted and why the industry itself may have accidentally made this scandal even bigger. The moment this alleged story crossed mainstream feeds, there was no neutral ground left. You were either defending Claressa like your life depended on it, or tearing the narrative apart piece by piece. Social media split in half overnight. On one side, supporters flooded timelines with messages like, "She's human before she's a champion. Y'all praise strength until it makes you uncomfortable. If this is true, she deserves privacy." On the other side, critics fired back with ruthless intensity. Why now? Why the cryptic posts? If it's fake, why not shut it down immediately? And that's where the pressure multiplied. Because in celebrity culture, reaction becomes evidence. The louder the silence, the darker the assumptions. Hashtags clashed violently. Hashtag protect Claressa. Hashtag tell the whole truth. Hashtag Papoose speak up. Every hour, a new think piece dropped. Every minute, a new theory surfaced. TikTok creators stitched clips of old interviews, slowing down pauses, zooming into facial expressions, narrating like detectives solving a cold case. One viral video hit 1 million views in hours with a simple caption. "Watch her eyes when they ask about that year." And the comments? Brutal. But the real shift happened when industry voices started reacting, carefully, cautiously, and vaguely. A retired athlete tweeted, "The industry protects images, not people." A music executive posted, "Some stories are bigger than the headlines. Be careful." No names, no confirmations, but enough to fuel the fire. Because when insiders start speaking in riddles, it means something is burning behind the curtain. Then came the blogs. At first, they hedged their language. Unverified claims. Alleged sources. No official confirmation. But as clicks skyrocketed, the tone sharpened. Headlines got bolder. Thumbnails got louder. Questions turned into assumptions. And still, no denial. That absence became the loudest reaction of all. Fans began tagging sponsors. Brands quietly limited comments. Some even paused posting altogether. According to alleged PR insiders, emergency meetings were held. Not to address the truth, but to assess the damage. Because whether real or fake, the narrative was now alive. And narratives don't need facts to grow. They need attention. Meanwhile, Papoose's name trended daily. Every hour, without a statement, added weight. Every day, without clarity, added suspicion. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. Silence is loud when the story is this specific. Then came the moment that pushed things over the edge. A major entertainment outlet ran a headline that read, "Sources say this story isn't going away anytime soon." Not confirmation, not denial, just inevitability. And suddenly, public opinion started shifting again. Even skeptics began saying, "Okay, something is off." Because fake stories collapse quickly. This one kept evolving. New sources, new angles, new hints. And the industry? It didn't shut it down. It slowed it, which only made people more suspicious. The final reaction that shook everyone came from a journalist known for breaking uncomfortable truths. On a podcast, they said, "I've been warned not to dig further. That tells me everything." That single sentence ignited a new wave of speculation. Why warn someone unless there's something worth finding? By now, the story wasn't about pregnancy alone. It was about power, silence, and control. And just when the public thought they'd seen the worst of it, a new alleged revelation surfaced, one that threatened to flip every assumption upside down. Because if this next claim was even partially true, backhand index pointing right, then everything so far was only the surface. And the final twist? It was closer than anyone expected. Just when the internet thought it had mapped every angle of this alleged scandal, one final twist surfaced, and it changed the entire meaning of the story. Late at night, when timelines were already exhausted from speculation, an alleged insider dropped a message that sent chills through everyone following this drama. Not a post, not a thread, a whisper. According to this source, the pregnancy admission was never meant to be the climax. It was meant to be the shield. The claim? That revealing the pregnancy even privately, was seen as a way to protect something far more damaging from coming out. And that's when the narrative flipped. Because insiders now alleged that Claressa didn't speak up because she wanted attention. She spoke because someone else was losing control of the story. The source claimed there was internal panic when it became clear that another person knew the full timeline, someone with receipts, dates, and no loyalty to the silence agreement. Suddenly, the question wasn't, did this happen? It became, who else knows? Then came the most unsettling allegation yet. The insider claimed there was a moment when Claressa was given a choice. Stay quiet and let others control the narrative, or speak just enough truth to stay ahead of the leak. If that sounds calculated, that's because the industry often is. Fans immediately reinterpreted everything. The cryptic posts, the careful wording, the refusal to deny or confirm. It wasn't confusion. It was positioning. And then the voice memo resurfaced. This time, paired with a chilling claim. The source alleged the voice wasn't warning Claressa to stay quiet. It was warning someone else that she might speak. That single detail changed the tone of the entire story. Because now, Claressa didn't look like someone hiding. She looked like someone preparing. And then came her final post. No emojis. No caption. Just this. Truth doesn't need permission. That was it. No follow-up. No interview announcement. No clarification. The internet froze. Because that wasn't a tease. That was a countdown. Industry insiders allegedly began scrambling again. Phones rang. Meetings reopened. And the scariest part? According to multiple alleged sources, this story has not reached its peak yet. They claim documents exist. Timelines exist. And conversations that were once private are dangerously close to becoming public. Whether real or exaggerated, one thing is undeniable. Backhand index pointing right, nobody is denying anything clearly. And in celebrity scandals, that's never accidental. So now the question isn't just about a pregnancy. It's about what comes out if the silence finally breaks completely. Because if Claressa has already admitted this much, what happens when she decides she has nothing left to protect? And if Papoose has stayed silent for this long, what does he know that the public doesn't? One insider ended their message with a line that still hasn't left people's minds. The admission wasn't the ending. It was the warning. And with that, the story cuts to black. Not because it's over, but because what comes next could rewrite everything you think you know. Now it's your turn. What do you believe? Was this alleged admission a controlled move, or a truth that couldn't stay buried any longer? Backhand index pointing down, drop your thoughts in the comments. Should Claressa tell the full story? Is silence a sign of guilt, or a calculated strategy? And most importantly, is this really the end, or just the beginning? If you think there's more coming, hit like and subscribe for the next update. Because the next leak, backhand index pointing right, could change everything.
Fire.